Welcome back to the Eye on College Basketball podcast here on CBS Sports Network. The biggest story in college sports right now isn't actually anything going on in college basketball. We'll get there. Give us a second. Right now, though, it's still college football playoff dominating the headlines. We get the national semifinals later on this week. Ole Miss and Miami, Oregon and Indiana. Simply put, this is not a combination that could have ever happened in any other era of the sport. This is a result, a byproduct of the 12-team college football playoff. But the idea that Indiana is just like, snuck here or something, that's crazy. This is the number one team in the country, has been the number one team in the country. They are your Big Ten champs, despite being traditionally the program many have described as the worst power conference football program in the sport. Now, ranked number one, favored to win the championship, Heisman Trophy quarterback. It's a story unlike anything we've ever seen. Hired a 62-year-old head coach who came to the press conference and basically told everybody, I'm going to win big here. And when they kind of rolled their eyes, he famously settled on the phrase, Google me. Now, if you Google him, you're going to see all sorts of interesting stuff. Norlander, I won't ask you to tell me where this has happened in college basketball because it never has. What would be the equivalent of this? School X hires coach whatever, and in year two, crazy as it is based on any sort of tradition, in year two, they're 2 wins away from the national championship. And, oh, by the way, they're expected to do it. Tell me what this looks like in our sport.
So statistically and historically, I think there is a team that is by far the number one. And I love this segment idea out of you. I'll have more. This is going to be my court report too. I'll get this in there just for some more reference with some other teams. But it's Northwestern. And it's really not close because Indiana has been described as the worst power conference football program historically. They're the worst. You look up over the decades and there was always a 0 attached to Indiana's name. It was, Ohio State blanking them 45-0 or Nebraska up 62-0 on Indiana. Northwestern's win percentage is comfortably the worst of any high major program in men's college basketball. As a program, Northwestern has only won 42.3% of its games as a program. It has never finished a season ranked as an AP team. It only has 2 NCAA tournament wins to its name ever, and they only got those wins within the past decade. Northwestern was one of the 5 original teams dating back to 1939 to qualify for the NCAA tournament that did not get in until 7+ decades later. It has never won a conference tournament championship. It only has 2 conference regular season championships. It's never made a Final Four, only has 3 NCAA tournament bids, period. So for as wild as Indiana is right now, it would be like Northwestern entering the NCAA tournament as the number 1 overall seed. It is unthinkable that would ever happen. That's what we have in Indiana football. There's a school that I think is a close number 2, but I'll save that. I want to hear what your top list and what you have here, JP.
Okay, so I listed 3, and I didn't put Northwestern because, I understand the history of Northwestern, but in this era of the sport, it's not crazy for me to imagine them just getting really good if they wanted to. With Chris Collins or somebody else. I mean, we've seen it at Vanderbilt. We've seen it at other prestigious academic schools. If you actually prioritize sports and then hire the right people, you can become really good really quickly. So I'm not predicting that from Northwestern. I'm just saying if you're asking why that team didn't make my list despite its lack of history, that would be why. I settled on DePaul, Penn State, and Boston College because I think those are 3 places where even if you've got the perfect coach for different reasons, it's just very hard to be good. Like Boston College is in a league with Duke and North Carolina and in a city where nobody cares about what they're doing. That's a hard thing to ever break free of. Penn State is just in the middle of nowhere, and they prioritize football over everything else. How is a basketball coach at that school ever supposed to do anything of note on the national level? And then DePaul is DePaul. We don't have to spend any time on that. So as much as it would be hard for me to imagine this type of thing happening anywhere like this, it's easier for me to imagine happening at a place like Northwestern than a place like Penn State, at a place like Northwestern than a place like DePaul, at a place like Northwestern than a place like Boston College. But just think about this to hammer it home real quick. Imagine if in March, some random afternoon, you and I are covering the NCAA tournament, exhausted, podcasting at 3 a.m. Boston College calls a press conference for 1 p.m., and they introduce a 62-year-old mid-major coach who was a Division II coach before that. And he's talking about, you know what? Really looking forward to the opportunity. North Carolina sucks. Duke sucks. Virginia sucks. We're going to win big here. And people are like, what is this guy talking about? And he's like, Google me. And you're like, you're 62-year-old Boston College coach. What are you talking about? And then before year two's even over, he's got the Wooden Award winner, the number one team in the country. He's in the Final Four and expected to win it. That is insanity, but that is the Indiana football story. That's what's happened. Wrap your head around that, or go find the 60 Minutes profile of Signetti from a few weeks ago, because that'll do a better job than probably what I just did of telling you exactly how wild it is this thing is happening in Bloomington.
Yeah, the only reason I didn't put DePaul there. DePaul's made 2 Final Fours. Like DePaul had a stretch where Indiana has nothing. So I looked at schools that were like Indiana, never accomplished anything, and I actually could see DePaul. I think DePaul's more likely to have a season like this than Northwestern, personally. Boston College had a stretch. Boston College made the NCAA tournament 18 times. Penn State has been to a Final Four, which is the only reason why I didn't have them in my top 3. But I think of the 3 schools you listed, I'm closest on that. And then real quick, GP, you know, I think is actually a really close top 3 candidate, if not in the top 3. It's the University of Mississippi. Has never made a Final Four, has 0 conference tournament championships, 2 conference tournament championships, 0 regular season championships to its name. The University of Mississippi ever only finished in the AP poll 3 times. Historically, it's got the 3rd worst win percentage of any high major program. It only beats TCU, which is kind of like they became a high major program in the past decade, so it's not exactly apples to apples. Only Northwestern is worse. Now, yes, is it in the SEC? Of course. It's now coached by Chris Beard. I'm talking historically, though. Ole Miss's men's basketball program ranks amongst the 4 or 5 worst out there, and I think even college basketball fans might not realize how poor it is. But if it was actually able to get into a spot where it was number 1, we see what the football stuff has done. It's actually been even worse in men's hoops over the years. Again, I'll have more on this Wednesday at CBSSports.com.
We don't have to belabor the point, but I just think you and I are talking about this from 2 totally different angles. You're looking at the history, and I'm looking at the future. I don't care what the history is. It is way easier to imagine Ole Miss being awesome at men's basketball than Boston College in the year 2025, or, you know, perhaps even Northwestern. They got a beautiful facility. They're in the best basketball league in the country, according to most and some metrics, and there's real money behind it. Like, they have real NIL at Ole Miss. That's how they're playing in the national semifinals in football, and how they built a NCAA tournament team last season. Like, Chris Beard can tell every high school player he recruits, if you stay at Ole Miss for 4 years, I can guarantee you're a millionaire when you leave here. I don't think you can say that at Boston College, Penn State, DePaul, or even Northwestern, but you can say it at Ole Miss. So I think going forward, at least the way I look at it, where are you positioned in the sport now, regardless of what you've been in the past? I'd much rather have Ole Miss's future than, say, Penn State's basketball future, but we could argue about that on another episode, another time. Let's move on.